Day 3 with me, Russell Brand. Dr Bob Gill is going to be talking to us about blood. Blood is big business. If you're British, your blood is being sold to America. And if you're American, your blood is being sold to China. Did you know that America's 2% of all American exports?
Export is blood, yeah.
Blood.
In this country, it was originally sold to America, and now it's being sold to China. It's a commodity now.
Riddle me this. Who do you think's selling their blood? Rich people or poor people?
It's poor people.
It's poor people, isn't it? We're going to be talking to Dr. Bob this Halloween about vampirism. Are they stealing your blood? Has your blood become a commodity? Are we in some Foucauldian nightmare where the stuff of life itself is traded? Consciousness and attention, that's traded. We know that already. And now blood itself. Sperm, that was ages ago. Ovaries, you can flog them on the open market as long as you don't use Johnson & Johnson baby powder. We're talking about centralising forces and vampirism today. Whether that's the literal vampirism, I suppose it's not literal vampirism, but it is taking your blood for money. I suppose vampires were a bit more, seemed like they were in it just to survive, and also there was a sort of a sexy component.
Yeah, they liked it, didn't they?
They were getting off on it. The lad out of Twilight was, wasn't he?
He loved it, didn't he?
Like
he had to fight it, though, didn't he?
Well, he was like, oh, I can't keep doing this.
I can't do it. Well, not with her.
I like it, but I won't do it.
No.
That's what it was. He was with the lass,
That's
Twilight
right.
lass.
Yeah.
He liked it, but no. But she actually liked the werewolf lad.
That's right.
See, that's the kind of political insights you're going to be getting. We're also, though, this is a serious story, I suppose. Well, you tell me. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's pretty serious that if you're donating your blood, thinking you're helping people get blood transfusions, but they're selling it abroad?
So it's not our blood abroad so that the Chinese can have it and inject
What do they do with it?
It's a commodity. It's so the Chinese they own it, so then they sell it back to us. So our NHS, a bit like vaccines and things, are going to have to pay. Extortionate rates.
For nothing.
No, we sell it. So that you give it, and then the government, like it owns the NHS and is selling off parts of the NHS, it'll sell off that blood to a company who then sell it to us when we need that blood. But then we're going to have to pay premium for it.
This is just one aspect of it, and we'll be talking to Dr. Bob Gill, who I consider to be our family doctor, because one, he's a legit, lovely family doctor that will help you with any little problem, but also he's a campaigner. He believes that health should be about helping people, not about business. And he sees the way it's going with this technocratic, technological, digital revolution, that in the end, your doctor will be like an Uber driver. Not that I don't like Uber drivers. Your doctor will just turn up, feel your pulse, stick their finger up your bum, no matter what you've asked for, and they'll be on their way. I mean that purely in a medical way, of course, because we're still on
But that's
YouTube.
best case scenario.
That's best. Doctor, you know perfectly well I'm here for a sore throat. Well, has that taken your mind off it? As a matter of fact, it has. Yeah. So that's essentially what we're talking about. Vampiric energy. It's Halloween. Who are the real monsters? Who are the real ghosts? Who are the real ghoulies? In my country, that means something quite different. Welcome, Dr. Bob. Welcome back. It's lovely to have you.
Hi, Russell.
You're looking a bit pale. Have you been selling your own blood?
I haven't been tempted yet, but I would do it for altruistic reasons, not for sale.
When you give blood, I mean, that's supposed to be like one of the most generous things you can do, like that you're transcending the transactional boundaries. So what exactly is happening when people are donating blood? Is it somehow ended up monetized?
Not in the UK. Most countries ban being paid for blood, but in America and China, they're the two main countries that this goes on. And, one of your previous guests, Alan MacLeod, wrote about this. He wrote about the harvesting of the poor, where they've set up blood-taking centers in the deprived parts of town and also along the US-Mexican border, so that the poor and the desperate come and donate blood for a very small sum, often a sum that changes over time. The more desperate you are, often the price goes down, but there's a 10 to 20-fold markup on the sale of their blood.
It's another dystopic thread that you can kind of trace to the potential prison planet we're heading towards, where the poorest are forced to sell even their blood as AI becomes prevalent across our entire culture, as industries are diminished and profits increase.
There we go. Need books? No worries. Donate plasma.
I do need books. And, I do need books. And
this
I am
is,
willing to give up my plasma.
This is being sold to young people especially because blood of
poor.
young people is big for big pharma these days because they're selling it to very rich people who are using the blood in the belief that it will make them live longer.
I have everything. Life's been very kind to me. I'm rich, I'm loaded, but my blood somehow is tainted. Is there any way I could have young people's blood? There is a way. It's disgusting, though. It's immoral. Sorry, I stopped listening when you said it was possible to do it. So who's likely to be engaged by this scheme? And aside from the moral and ethical hellscape that it leads us towards, Doctor, are there any other problems?
Well, obviously the people who are the poorest are going to be most tempted when they're desperate, when they can't feed their family. This is an easy way of getting money for them. The problem is in commercialized blood, there is a greater risk of infection. You're going to attract the most desperate. And we know where blood is bought, the infection risk can go up almost 40%. So the problem with commercialized plasma and blood trade is it's all about getting in the donors, maybe bleeding them more than they can physically cope with, and to get a very big markup. And then what also comes in part of that deal is you cut back on safety procedures. So that's how infection creeps in. The big difference between blood and plasma, I think we need to make the distinction. If you have a blood transfusion, it's like sleeping with a person you don't know. You don't know the infection status.
Talk to me more about that.
But if you have a plasma donation, plasma is pooled from up to 3,000 to 10,000 people. Now, if you have an infected donor in that pool, that can have a massive impact on the number of people receiving your plasma.
I understand, and I'm going to put this into interesting terms given I'm a vegan. It's the difference between a steak and a sausage. A steak, you know that has come from one cow. But a sausage, that could be mullered out of a great big daft bunch of cows and their little hoofs and everything. So plasma's like that. Because it isn't got some determinants in the old hemoglobin, another blood-related word, they just slosh together plasma of the unwashed thousands and knock it out.
Yeah, so when you're donating plasma, they give you your blood back. They filter out the plasma, and then that goes off to be processed and pooled with thousands of other people's plasma. So the risks are innately greater. You know, we have an ongoing scandal about tainted blood where haemophiliacs...
I believe that was by Mark Almond.
Where haemophiliacs in the 80s and 90s were given contaminated factor VIII, which is a factor to help them clot normally. These people can't clot normally. And some of the donations came from very dubious sources. So it is casting a very long shadow.
But what questions are there, Sue?
So Divine Turtle asks, do they not screen blood before they tap it, Dr. Bob?
Yeah, so they do screen it. In a very safe operation, you might screen it. And for new donors, you might even hold that supply in quarantine for a month and retest it, because some conditions aren't immediately apparent, and certain things like mad cow disease, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, there is no test for, and there are always new viruses being picked up in the blood supply. So they test for the common things, and you will show up positive if you were infected and seroconverted before you donated. So it's not that easy. If you want to do it well, it's expensive, and if you want to do it for a profit, you're going to cut corners.
There you go.
It's interesting, isn't it? At a time when I think earlier on we were looking at a clip of Joe Biden talking about getting $5 to $20 off your grocery bills that have gone up massively in the last few months anyway, for putting something in your body. There doesn't seem to be the regulation of things that are coming out of your body. So I've just read here, around 70% of donors experience health complications. Donors have a lower protein count in their blood, putting them at greater risk of infections and liver and kidney disorders. Many regulars suffer from near permanent fatigue and are borderline anemic. So where is the kind of regulation that should be in place around people who are giving blood up to 104 times a year just because they need to pay their rising energy bills?
Also,
well, you're applying a humanistic assumption around what's going on here. It's got nothing to do with compassion and care for your fellow human. It's who can we bleed and how little can we pay them, right? But yeah, if it was in a regulated system, remember the free market wants deregulation. They call it cutting red tape. But in a deregulated system, they don't really care about the impact on the person they're bleeding. And that's the reality.
So, the monetization of your plasma, yet another example how every aspect of human life, your attention through big tech, your blood through various schemes that seem a little dubious, and this is no small thing. It's clear that the export of plasma in particular is a significant part of the American economy. More than soy, more than corn, your blood, your poverty, your vulnerability, your weakness is now an asset that can be traded and sold. What's next? Your misery, your anguish, your depression and despair as we march into a dystopia where your information is collected and collated, where your currency is centrally manipulated. It is our lifeblood itself that is under threat. So this Halloween, remain very aware that when we talk about vampirism, that myth has a power. It comes from somewhere. There literally are powerful monsters looking for blood. Watch entire episodes on demand for free at rumble.com/Russell Brand.